What's up, everybody? Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. It's another day, another video. This week's video, we're going to be working on 2018 Ronin. We're going to be working on a 2018 Ram. Got the sun over here making noise. But at any rate, doing quite a bit of work on this one. We're going to be installing the AEV fender flares on the front and the rear. We also got an AEV bumper, and we got some link arms that we're going to install. As you can see, we've got a full bed full of items to get out and get going with. So I'm going to get a lot of this broke out. We're going to start on the rear first. These fender flares do require some cutting of the body panels and cutting of the inner fender wells as well as the liners, and then AEV sends us new parts to replace all of that. And then in the front, we actually have to get into making some patch panels. Not making them, they send them, but installing some patch panels, some different things like that. The front bumper, when we take it off, all of that lines up with the new parts from AEV. So rather than trying to explain all that now, let's start breaking it out and then we'll bring you back in. All right, as you can see, we got the truck unloaded, put most everything in the Connex, and left just the stuff for the rear out. Figured we'd unload it. So we got some fender flares. Set these up here. Now, one thing, I don't know, maybe you remember, maybe you don't, Bushwhacker has always been kind of the go-to for fender flares on some of these older, or not older trucks, but on the older trucks. And they always had the external bolt heads. And there's still some of them running around like that. I don't know if they're all Bushwhacker. I haven't paid much attention to fender flares in a while. None of my rigs run them. Mainly because we're open wheel for the most part. Or stock. These the fasteners are hidden. They get mounted from the back side. You do drill holes for them, then you mount them through the back side. Kind of like that. It's going to be a little bit cleaner look. So interesting to see that. And then these are going to be the replacement components. I don't know if that's right or left, but these will be when we cut the inner fender liner. These will be the part that attach to the body and back to what's left of the inner fender liner to complete the appearance in there and keep you from throwing mud and everything up into your bed and all that good stuff. Yeah, just hold on, bud. Let me see. Go a little bit further forward so you're not on the sway bar. No, hold on. We're going to have to deal with that in a second. All right, and then okay, sorry. So we got from there, we got hardware bag, lots of different nuts, oops, stepped out of frame. Lots of nuts, washers, that kind of thing. There are some little tabs in here that you apply to the fender flare. It's on a sticky sided tape with a pull tab, and you use that to transfer to your body. Should be interesting. That looked like a lot of fun. I think in that instance, cleanliness is going to be our friend to make sure those work right. You got some double-sided tape. You got some LED marker lights that you put in those, and then download instructions, because nobody sends written instructions anymore. I did download them to the computer. I've already got that done. I've already read through them once, so I have a vague idea of what I'm doing. Well, I always have a vague idea. That's usually about as good as it gets, though. That's the problem. But we'll muddle through it like we always do, because that's all fun and games. All right, so with that, I'm going to get this jacked up. We'll get the wheel off, and we're going to start on one side and then do the other, and that'll be that. So let's get started. All right, got the wheel off. Now we're going to remove the fender flare, which has, I think it's 8mm bolts in it, and then our screws, and then there's a couple on the inner fender liner, and then the inner fender liner, and this will come off. There is a line of tape right through the outside, and no, it's not the plastic prices. So when you get ready to take this off, you got to kind of work on it. You don't want to just start snatching on it. These are being sold, I believe. He's got these going to someone else, so we'll put them in one of his boxes, and that way they stay a little bit protected. And then I can't remember, we'll put all the hardware aside for now, but some of the hardware is reused, so don't be tossing it away. Those are them, thank you. All right, here, where's your hand? Put those down. Alright, got that broke free. Now I'll just work my way around. Grab the other side of this fender flare running. And we'll just use the pry tool. Don't pull on it. Just hold on to it. I don't want it. There we go. You can use fishing line for this too. Like a heavy duty, I don't know what, go get that pry tool you had before. I didn't realize it was needed, huh? One of these days his eyes are going to roll in the back of his head and get stuck. Smart Alec. Don't throw it. Son. Set that there so I can lose it. Alright, let's go and put these in that box. Alright, and then the fender liner should just push back. One more screw. This underneath the truck until we determine where it needs to be cut. And then I want to say we've got to take out, there's another inner fender liner, and then there's 2, maybe 3 support bars that need to come out. So, if I remember correctly, inner fender liner, and then they call this a splash guard. You can see that. We'll set all that down. Don't be throwing things away. We need to keep these clips. A lot of that stuff gets reused on the other ones. We're gonna clean this up a little bit. Just some soap and water. That'll keep us from scratching it. And then I gotta verify which other parts we're removing. And then we'll get it laid out, start marking and getting ready to start cutting. Got it. All right, don't lean on it. Don't lean on it, because it pushes it back and forth. Yeah, every time you lean forward and look, it slides this way. Every time you stand up, it goes back the other way. Step out of the way. Take the marker. Now hold on. All right, now mark right up against the flare. Right against it with the point going up against the flare. Now just put a straight line down. There you go. All right, let's see. Okay, all right. They're like holding the flashlight. All right, so what we've done, I'm not worried about this. I use permanent marker here. We use dry erase marker on the outside lines. Now we'll draw another line 1/4 inch on the inside. We did center and measure. I measured along the body line because it gave me a good reference point. 3 1/4 is what it worked out from this one and this one. 3 1/4 inches on both sides. Centers the flare on the wheel well and over the rear axle, all that good stuff. You could, I suppose, drop a plumb line and measure, and maybe we'll do that just to confirm that we're centered and that we don't need to be offset an inch forward. The instructions don't say anything about that. Hold on, setting the fender flare down. They don't say anything crazy like that, but they do tell you to center it. And so that's what I was doing on a measurement. Since this is my first time, we will probably pull the string line, plumb bob, and just confirm with the quick measurement, just to make sure that it's not one of those, oh, I wish they put that in the instructions. So let me do that real quick, just do a confirmation, and then we'll start cutting. So let's get on. And oh, by the way, if you have permanent marker, if you take your dry erase marker and put it over the top of it, it will erase it. And then you can take a little simple green or Windex or even WD-40 and it'll clean that mark right off from the dry erase. But the dry erase will pull up the permanent marker and then make it easy to clean up. All right guys, I switched you over to a handheld here real quick. So I got everything lined out. Black line here, that is my inside fender or inside fender flare. And then my dry erase markers are 1/4 inch wide, and the instructions say to go approximately 1/4 into it. So I did that. It's a little rough, but not too bad. And then I outlined it with the orange tape. And the orange tape is because I'm intending to use my body saw to cut that line, and I want to avoid scratching this. You can use a cutoff wheel, but I'm concerned that because we're going to be doing a curve, I'm going to get it too hot and the heat will bubble the paint, and then trying to get that resealed is going to be kind of a problem. I've got some direct to metal epoxy primer, but I'd have to sand it down, and then, you know, it just ends up being kind of a mess. And I'd like to not have that risk if I can help it. I may not have a choice. If the body saw doesn't do a good job, then we'll have to go with another method. I do know a couple of the other guys online were talking about they were they've done several sets of these and they're now starting to use nibblers. Probably a combination of nibblers, cutoff wheel. Some guys prefer cutoff wheels, just depends. You know, I've done it, I've cut with them before. That's how I know that it'll bubble the paint if you go too slow. Take you underneath real quick, show you what we're gonna have to cut underneath here. So if you look up, here's the pinch weld. We're gonna cut to the outside edge of it, right in here. There's the inner support, and we need to leave that. We need to leave the pinch weld, so we'll cut right through there, and it extends from here over to this side. We do need to save this. We need to reuse this. So we'll get that cut, and then be able to start fitting the fender flare. We got to cut this, remove the metal, clean it up. We'll have to look at what primer we're going to use, and then from there we do the forward support. I think there's a back support, and then we got to put the fender up there. We got to do the funky little pull tab transfers, and then when those are marked, we drill our holes, and then we can start installing it and switch to the other side. Rinse and repeat. Let's get it done. Alright guys, new opening is cut. Didn't go too bad. I found that the easiest way for me to do it, so I cut the inside first, which you saw on the time lapse. And if you watch the whole time lapse, you'll see that I used the body saw to cut until I got to the inner brace, at which point the body saw didn't want to go through both pieces. And so I cut up to that, and then I used the grinder with the cutoff wheel to cut to the body saw line, and I dropped those pieces out, and then I just did a rough cut way inside, and that got everything loose, and then I was able to pull that piece out with the glue and everything. You can see it right down there on the ground. Want to hold that piece up, Ronan? There we go. So Ronan has it, so you can see we cut way down here, and then from there I stepped up with the body saw again to finish this line out. Had one little bobble, it's not horrible, but now we're gonna have to get in there. We'll put some paint on it and protect that edge. The next steps is we're gonna install the rod. Ronan's put his head in the light, so we'll move it. Quit leaning into the light, thank you.
I have to see
kids with flashlights in their heads. No, that's the light. Go around. Go around.
I need to see.
Okay, but oh my goodness. All right, so 2.5 inches in, we're gonna drill a 7/16 hole, and then we'll move this over to there, and then here 1.5 inches in, and then 1 inches forward, we're gonna drill a 7/16 hole. And then there's the screw that goes in from the bottom. And the rod itself is this. We're gonna cut it. I have to mark it, but I want to say we cut just to the outside of this line. So we use that threaded hole and this threaded hole, and that is going to be our forward marker. This piece you save, and it gets used in the front somehow. I'm not positive yet, but we're going to go over to the bandsaw. We're going to cut that off real quick, and then we'll get it installed. All right, we're on to the next step, which is very fiddly. We have to add, so they give us these little tape units, transfers, whatever, so that we can transfer the whole location of the fender flare to the body. The problem that I'm having, so they tell you in the instructions to clean the fender flare with wax and grease remover because the oils from manufacturing process won't let these stick. The problem I'm having is these have been sitting for about 5 years and they don't want to stick to anything, period. But I cleaned it with wax and grease remover. That wouldn't let it stick. I cleaned it with alcohol. That didn't help. Now using brake clean, and that seems to be doing better, but they're still pretty old. So now I'm having to add a little bit of tape, blue masking tape, painter's tape, whatever you want to call it, to try to get them to hold in place. And hopefully we can get them to stick to the bed long enough that I can then mark the holes and get it transferred over, and we've got things in the location they need to be. The alternative, I don't really want to do, but if I have to, I will make some, I will take whatever size bolt this is, I think it's a metric M6, and we'll have to get 2 holes done so that I can bolt it up there, and then we'll make a we'll take the bolt head, cut it off, and we'll sharpen it to a point on the grinder or something like that. Usually I chuck it into the drill press and use a grinder to make a nice even point, and then you thread it in there, and as you set the fender up there, you line it up, you bang it where that pointer you made is, and it will indent the metal, and that's where you drill your hole. I've done that plenty of times to make a transfer. It works, but doing it for this many holes is going to be a huge pain in the butt because we're going to risk moving it around and scratching everything, and not happy with that process. But we're dealing with some really old stuff. Like I said, 5 years this has been sitting on a pallet in the garage. And it doesn't help that today has humidity like a wet blanket. It is just miserable humidity today. I mean, we live in Florida, it's kind of expected, but it doesn't help with this kind of activity. At any rate, we'll get it done. Just keep doing the best we can.
Dad.
All right, y'all give me a high five, because we did it. We got them all to transfer. A little nerve-wracking. These things are just so old. So now I'm gonna mark them in pen. Probably go get lunch. And then we'll start drilling these holes we've got. So we need to drill all of these, and then there's some secondary holes to get some other screws I've got to mark. I got to go read the instructions. I want to make sure I don't screw that up. But wow, what a relief. This is probably one of the more nerve-wracking parts of all of this, believe it or not. So far, the two most nerve-wracking parts is one, remembering to mark inside the fender flare, not trace the outside and cut there and remove all your material. And the other is getting these blind holes lined up. Because, I mean, if you're off, what a disaster being off. So, yeah, very relieved. Many smiles. Only got 3 more to go. But now we know what it's going to take to clean them up and get it done. So, yes. All right. Not done. But you saw it here first. Well, probably seen it other places too. At any rate, temporarily bolted up. I went, because you got to temporarily bolt it up. I put all of them in, or checked all of them. I have 4 that I need to enlarge the holes a little bit. I went a little undersized. I wanted the holes tight. Keeps it from shifting around as he drives or anything like that, the tighter the holes are. And then I marked all of the locations for what they call their high-low screws. Now I got to take it off and drill the backside of the fender flare pilot holes for the high-low screws. That gives it like 17 locations. And then we need a 3/4 inch hole. We're going to drill one here through this, and then I got to drill one in the back of the fender. That's going to be for the marker light, which we're going to have to wire in here shortly. But we're getting to the point that I'll have all the holes drilled for the fender. We can then start working on the inner stuff. Taking me a little bit longer than I'd like. We did have to run to the store. We're stopping to film. On the next one, it should go much quicker. I'll just be time-lapsing that one. I'm not going to be filming it like I did this in a step-by-step, because we'll already have it done. And then we'll have to do the same for the front. But that's the name of the game. So let's get on it. Keep moving. All right. So we're down to the final steps of installing everything. The fender flares up as we saw. And now I'm finishing up getting the inner fender liners in. There's the stock one. I have trimmed off quite a bit. Initially trimmed off that much, and then I just, after I measured and everything with the new one, ended up trimming this much more. Next time I'll be able to trim it a lot closer. But I just wanted to make sure I left plenty and didn't cut it too short the first time. So now I'll go along. We're going to get all the nut certs off of this one and get them installed at those marks. We'll have to do a little bit of notching, but I'd like to leave a little extra along this edge. By leaving a little extra and overlap between the two, there'll be a little bit extra support, and it won't be quite as flimsy. And then on these rivets, they go here, and they call for a 1/4 inch, which fits, but it's a touch loose. But a size D, or I'm sorry, size D is really, it's tight without being overly tight. And so these rivets will pull up nice and tight, and they'll be less likely, you know, under a hard water crossing or something, to come out. The only other thing that I've found, they call for it to go in that hole, like so. That's what the instructions call for. The locating pin that's stock, but I don't know. I guess it'll be all right. I'm thinking about drilling it and moving it forward if I can. It shouldn't be a big deal, but who knows. At any rate, that's what they call for. So let's get this installed. I need to drill them holes, notch it, and then we'll finish drilling the holes in the fender for the rivets, and then we'll install the rivets, and this side will be done. We can get the wheel back on it. I still need to wire the tail light, but I can do that afterwards. It doesn't need to be done right this instant. I'll do all of that. When I pull the tail lights, I'll pull them both and then wire them both, and that'll be easy peasy. So let's get this finished. Been a long day. All right, I'm not done, but I'm gonna have to call it for the night. I gotta get in and make dinner for my boy. Take care of all of just the normal stuff all of us have to take care of. Disappointing I didn't get this done. Just pulled in too many directions some days, but it's close. I need to take and massage these back just a smidge more, but that's the way it is. You got to work your way into it instead of cutting too much and then be trying to add back in. You can't add back in. So these just need a little bit more of a notch to slide them back that way, and then this up here will line up where it needs to be. And then we'll drill in all these holes, trim the bottom to be flush on both ends, and then all this will be nice and tidied up. And then from there, we got some mud flaps to go on it, so I'll have to read the instructions. We'll get them bolted up, and we'll get started on the other side. And like I said, that one should go much quicker. I hope so. Woo. It will. All right, so it's done, mostly. Yeah. They didn't send enough hardware. I only got 13 of these rivets right here. You can't see them, it's black on black in the dark area. But at any rate, they're little plastic rivets, and I need 30. They sent 13. We'll have to get some ordered, but that'll finish off that inner liner. Mud flaps are installed. This needs to be moved, so I'm going to try to heat it up and just slide it over. AEV makes a kit that relocates that, which I guess needs to be done if you put their bumper on. So we'll try it the cheap way first, and if not, then we'll have to go a different route. But you can see, really opens up that wheel well. That's a 37-inch tire, so definitely makes room for a bigger one. All right, good morning, everybody. It is dark 30 out here. About 5:15 in the morning, I guess. Already 81 degrees, high humidity. This is not my favorite time of year here in Florida. So the rears are done, and they didn't come out too terrible. Actually look pretty good. Do need a bigger tire. That's a lot of opening for that little tire. But fender flares are on. Still need to wire the marker lights in the back, but I need to remove the rear lights to do that and gain access to the wiring. Figure I'll do those at the same time I do the front, because then I'll have all the wiring equipment out. And right now I'm running out of space. I brought me out a table. Got my work, my tool bench, or whatever you want to call it, tool cart sitting there. But we're getting ready to start on the front, and gonna end up doing things a little differently, I think, this time. Last time I did one side then the other. I think this time we're gonna do both sides as we go along, and basically if I do something on the left, he'll come over and do it on the right. It's gonna make filming maybe a little bit harder, but we'll see. But one of the things that has to happen is, like, the bumper needs to come off, because one, we're going to be replacing it, and two, it's in the way of the cuts and some other stuff. And then since we got the bumper off and we're going to be doing it, you know, the headlights have to come out. Well, let me walk you through this a little better. All right, so removal. Remove the fender flares stock. There's a piece in here that comes out, the little foam piece. Inner fender liner comes out. Headlights come out. There's a bracket back behind here. They come out. The grill comes off. As I said before, the bumper, we got to remove the park sensor, fog lights, tow hooks, obviously any of the air dams. Same thing on this side. Headlight, these surrounds come out, they get modified, because remember, that fender flare is coming around down into this area, and so all of this out here gets cut off and whatnot. And that other bumper ends in here, something like that. So I think they use this line for the front fender flare. And I think we got to remove the Cummins symbol, so we'll be pulling that off as well. Once we get all that done, we'll get into the rock crawler suspension, but let's stay focused right now. So what I think I'm going to do is we'll set you up on time lapse, and we'll do some removal and get a lot of this removed and set to the side so that we can get going. So let's get you set up and get moving. quick update time. Most of the removal is done. Bumper, all that, fender lights, you know, a lot of that's gone. Still have to remove this bracket. It gets modified. Bumper bracket's got to come out, but before that does, the intercooler comes out. Unfortunately, this one's been bumped, so it's making things a little tight in this area. And same thing over here. This piece needs to come out. It will eventually get modified. I still need to take off the turbo diesel pieces. And then these are, I forget what kind of bracket they're called. They're not an accessory bracket, but something similar to that. Those need to come out too. Those are for the bumper install. So, need to finish that up. It's getting about time to go get me some breakfast. It's about 6:30 now, so it didn't take that long to get it blown apart. But we'll finish this up. Getting to the clamps on the intercooler is a little fiddly. A lot of that's pretty tight in there. And then I got, there's a couple bolts up on the back side that hold the top of it that I got to get to. And then 2 bolts on each side of the bracket. Intercooler should just drop out. And then once that drops out, the bumper bracket bolts slide out to the inside. They're captured in there the way they do it. I don't know why they do it that way. I would think that Dodge, they know this is a problem. They would install them the other way. Then you just have to undo the nuts and the bolts will come out. But they don't. They do it this way on all of them. On the 11s to 13s on my truck, the 4th gens, I just cut them and then install a different bolt. And the instructions for these trucks say the same thing. But at any rate, or not for these trucks, the instructions for AEV bumper tell you to do the same thing. On this model though, you have to take them out. So who knows? At any rate, that's where we're at. All right, time for the where we was, where we is, and where we will be. Intercooler's out. Pretty much all the removal in terms of just bolt off parts are done. Now we're going to get into all of the modifications, the cutting and all of that good stuff. So we're down here on the driver's side, and I've removed all the body bolts. You can see here I've got a little bit of a gap. We're getting ready to pick it up a little bit higher, and we'll slide this piece through over into this area, and then it gets refastened. I've already got the fenders loose. We're gonna pull them out, hold them out. They're gonna get cut off down in here at this body line on both sides. And then we got to do some temporary fitting, marking. I got to clean all this up. And then we can get up in here and start cutting brackets and stuff. And yeah, we'll get moving on. But that's where we're at for right now. And then I don't know what was on his body bolts. I don't know, it's black and goopy. I don't know if it was mud or what. It got everywhere. Got me one of those mechanic surprises, you know, all the good stuff. But at any rate, no big deal. We will continue on. Oh, and then on the passenger side, before I forget, on the passenger side, we need to take this down and it gets relocated over in here. We drill some holes and whatnot and move it over there out of the way. So, and quick maintenance item too. If you've already liked and subscribed, thank you. We truly appreciate the support. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do me a favor. Do it, it's free. Just hit that like button, subscribe, get notifications when we send out new videos. We're always doing something. You know, a lot of times we're working on something like this. All right, time for the where we was, where we is, and where we will be. Intercooler's out. Pretty much all the removal in terms of just bolt off parts are done. Now we're going to get into all of the modifications, the cutting and all of that good stuff. So we're down here on the driver's side, and I've removed all the body bolts. You can see here I've got a little bit of a gap. We're getting ready to pick it up a little bit higher, and we'll slide this piece through over into this area, and then it gets refastened. I've already got the fenders loose. We're gonna pull them out, hold them out. They're gonna get cut off down in here at this body line on both sides. And then we got to do some temporary fitting, marking. I got to clean all this up, and then we can get up in here and start cutting brackets and stuff, and yeah, we'll get moving on. But that's where we're at for right now. And then I don't know what was on his body bolts. I don't know, it's black and goopy. I don't know if it was mud or what. But it got everywhere. Got me one of those mechanic surprises, you know, all the good stuff. But at any rate, no big deal. We will continue on. Oh, and then on the passenger side, before I forget, on the passenger side, we need to take this down and it gets relocated over in here. We drill some holes and whatnot and move it over there out of the way. So, and quick maintenance item too. If you've already liked and subscribed, thank you. We truly appreciate the support. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do me a favor. Do it, it's free. Just hit that like button, subscribe, get notifications when we send out new videos. We're always doing something. So, first cut is done. I got the other one marked. So, getting ready to cut it. Double check, make sure. And then in here, we've got the lines are rerouted down through here. And then I need to clip that off probably. And then on the driver's side, it is moved from over here where it was to up here. And then I got some holes drilled in the frame there behind this, and then I went ahead and zip tied it as well, just a little additional insurance. I also moved it on the other side of this cable. Normally it comes down here. I moved it to the over on the other side. That just helps keep it clear of everything. So now we're getting ready to, once those cuts are done, this bracket will get installed somewhere down in here, like so, and something like that. And we got to drill a hole, and then we can start installing the flare, marking it for cutting the fender, all that good stuff. And yeah, good times. Let's keep moving. All right guys, so on the passenger side of the truck, they give you these fancy little templates. Now do be careful. These look different than the ones that they have in the diagram there. But it lays up in here, line it up, these holes down here, and then it kind of fits real nice. I like them. As far as templates go, beats an old paper template. But then you trace it with your marker. Like so. Now, and then we got one for the inside. Now there's a left and a right pair. These line up with nut certs on the back. This one lines up with the bolt holes on the front. Like so. And then you can hold it up there. And when you got it in right, you can see that it fits up nice and tight. And then you just trace it out. like so. Now I'm going to go in, we're going to cut on that line, we're going to cut a little short, and then this piece, after we've done all that, yeah, this piece should go something like this in there. We'll cut and knock this pinch weld down, but then this patch panel goes in, you drill it, tap it, all that good stuff, and then seam seal the edges, and that'll make room for the tire back in this area to get rid of all this, because I know like with 37s you have to be careful. You'll rub on this. I did on my Power Wagon. I didn't have the full lift, but if you only do a leveling kit, 37s will fit, but then you hit this pinch seam. So we will carefully cut into this with the grinder. We'll cut across here with the grinder, because you can see from this line to that line that they're basically even going across. Like that. And then they should line up down here as well. So now you got to make sure to leave this front hole, because that front hole is part of your bracket, this one. So this bracket goes in there like so. So don't cut it off, but we'll get it all lined up and get it cut off, work our way into it. Should be good to go. Fun and games. All right, wanted to show you guys this real quick. This is a multi-step process. You got to cut some of it out, get it bent out, get it cut, because there's multiple pieces in here, and to get it all to line up, you can see here's the cut line on the other side, and looks like it's coming through right in here. So, but you can't get to it all from the same side, so I'm gonna cut this piece off, and then we'll cut that and see how that fits, and work our way in with the grinder and stuff. That way we don't overcut it. So we'll get on it. All right, guys. So patch panel is not installed, but we're close. So what we have, it sits up in here just like that, and you can see it fits pretty good. Good enough that I've actually considered welding this section. I'm not happy with this piece. You can see there's a gap in there. I don't know if I need to rebend it and whatnot. Down here fits real well. Up here fits real well. It fits real good width-wise everywhere else but right there. And I'm not sure why. I need to look. Maybe there's supposed to be a nut cert or something that goes on there. That's probably what it is. It's probably a nut cert, and then the fender lines up on it. That's probably what it is. Maybe I should read the instructions. But for clarity's sake, I marked the pinch weld locations. Now we got to go along and cut into here on the diagonal on spots without losing these, and then we got to knock over this whole seam up into this area. We got to knock it flat. We'll use the air hammer, sledgehammer, whatever we got to do to get that laid over, and then we'll have to prime it, bare metal. This, once it's all in, we get it drilled, and I believe it's got rivets. Then we'll seam seal it to keep all the water out of it. We might leave a little opening in the bottom. Well, we shouldn't have to. There's air holes in the bottom. Sometimes if you seal it up too tight, condensation will happen. You can leave a little hole in the bottom though, give water a place to drain out, especially in an off-road rig where you're going to be going through deep water. But so we got to do that, and then we can go to the other side, get the other side done. One step forward. out of, I don't know, I don't even remember what page we're on. We're on page 8 of 25. So there's like 23 pages of instructions. So moving to page 9. That's a lot, but all you can do is just keep moving it. Not a big deal. All right, what was, what is, and what will be. Got plenty done today, even though it was darn hot. But the flares are on. So just got to do the inner liners, which is a couple of, there's a prop rod and some other stuff that goes on in there, and you got to cut the existing or the stock liner and then add in the other liner, all that good stuff. And got to put the foam back in it, put the headlights in. We'll have to wire it, but looks good. So the opening's there, seam sealer's in. So overall, didn't come out too bad. We got, you know, everything's looking pretty smooth here. Maybe a little cleanup here and there. But not only that, but then tomorrow, the bumper's already ready to get started. We're ready to go back in. We just got to start bolting things up, and we'll be moving on it. So guess we'll see you in the morning and knock this thing out. All right, so I didn't film much of the liner install. They're in, as you can see, big black area. Big pain in the butt. Just trying to get everything, especially without somebody else here to help hold it. But they're in there. It is what it is. They look good. Here's the passenger. So I need to finish my black plastic rivets came in, so I need to finish the rear and get them installed, but I can do that with the wheels on, and that won't take but a minute. I've moved to installing the front bumper. So intercooler is back in. I need to install, I think that's called companion hardware or compatibility hardware. So I need to install those real quick. Both sides. Got the center section out. I got the winch, unspooled the winch line. We got 1/2-inch cable here, but we're going back with rope, which should be here to Sunday, I think it is. So I already took that off. No reason for me to deal with the weight. And then, so we need to install it here. And yay, should be fine. It says it's supposed to have some spacers. I can't find them though. It said they're supposed to be in here in this kit. There are some washers, but nothing that looks like a spacer. At least not what I'm thinking. I think just a round slug of metal. Certainly I guess the washers could be considered, but I don't think that's what they were asking for. I guess we'll find out, see how low it is. We got all the rest of the brackets. In the boxes are the end pieces. These bolt to the outside ends, and then we got some light surrounds. Those plastic pieces there go around the tow hook pieces. So all in all, let's get to it. Boy, did I screw up. Some of you may have noticed when I was pointing out the brackets I put on, I would turn around, I put the stock ones back on it. Don't know why. It was one of them issues, so I had to go back and redo all of that and put the brackets for this bumper on. After that, as you can see in the time lapse, we put the center section together, 2 end caps, tow hook pieces, and then I've got it all tightened down now. But you can see the truck sitting pretty level, and the bumper is so pretty close. Well, all right, now it is. Once you get everything straight, bumper sitting level too. So good to go. Now I just have to go through. We got the front sensors to put in. We got to wire the winch. We got to put the fog lights in, and we got the little bull bar that goes up there. We got a couple of plastic pieces, little cover pieces that go here. Sorry, you can't see that. They go here. They surround their surrounds on these. All that, and then the grill has to go back in there. But that'll, once we get that done, that'll complete all of the AEV stuff. And then we got to get down there and see what's up with that rock crawler suspension stuff. Hopefully that one's not too hard. I do have a couple of detail things to do yet. We got to weld. That's why my blue tape's there. I got to weld on the stops, the steering stops, to help get it situated a little better for steering, I guess, to keep it from rubbing. And then in the back, we got to finish getting all of our rivets in, which shouldn't take long. We got all of them here. And then I need to get into the tail lights and wire up the marker lights. So as you saw in the time lapse, I am undoing the wiring harness. So why am I doing that? Well, AEV calls for a longer wiring harness for the park sensors, which is fine, no big deal. He ordered it, it came, looks good. But they didn't include any of the wiring for the fog lamps, which on the stock system are integrated into park sense harness. So I need to undo this harness, and then I need to undo the AEV harness, and I need to strip out the wire for the fog lights, install it into the harness that AEV sent, and then wire it all, or tape it all back up, so that I have an integrated harness that covers both of them, just like we did stock. Big pain in the butt. It's not hard by any means, just tedious, time consuming, time that you really is not included when you're thinking about doing this, and then you sit down and you go, oh, darn it. But it makes for a good install. You know, there are other options. You could run separate wire and all that, butt plugs, and but it just leads to trouble down the road. So we'll do it this way. It'll be just fine. It's gonna be better, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, so don't worry about this. It looks sketchy. It's not actually holding the truck up. I use it to lift the body, so I could get it on my 7-ton jack stands, and those are holding the body up. And then it's just going to sit here as a safety, just in case. Don't really expect anything bad to happen, but you can't be too safe. And then I lowered the axle itself down and put it on some 3-tonners. So now we're going to get in here. Number 15, we'll remove the drive shaft, set it back out of the way so it can have its spacer put on. Or actually, maybe I'll just put the spacer on, be done with that. Then we got 2 bolts up front, and I think it's 5 in here. And then this one goes on in its place. There's not a lot of bolts that go into it. These 2 are stock, and then this one's added. Sorry, you can't see. These 2 are stock, this one's added. So this will be an upper link, lower link, frame mount, frame mount. So they correspond with there and there. Those 2, and then that one is stock, and then we got those bolts up there. The adjusters go away, the cam adjusters, because now we're going to have rod ends all up on the upper side. The lowers get, so here's the links. So these will go to the axle side, that will go to the frame side. I'm going to pull measurements on what's there now. This is supposed to move the axle forward 1.6 inches. So we'll measure center to center. We'll adjust those to be 1.6, 1.5 longer on all 4 corners. Stick them in, bolt that up. I'm going to do one side at a time. I am going to measure the angle of the dangle on the knuckles. We'll put the angle finder up here, see what we get, and then we'll work to achieve that angle again when we put everything back together. Should be pretty tough. Rotating these back and forth can be a real pain. Sometimes I got to get a jack under there or something and push on a little bit to get it to teeter, but it should be okay. Like I said, I've taken the pressure off of things so that the springs aren't exerting a ton of force, that kind of thing. And so we'll get started on that. I will show you completely the bumper and all of this when I'm done. Got a couple of things I didn't like, but we'll cover all that in a final walk around. And but we're almost done. We're getting there. Oh my, I'm dirty. All right, guys, let's do a quick update. We've got a minor problem, nothing end of the world. I think we've got a solution. I've got the old brackets out and got the new one up in here, and this is where we ran into a problem. So sorry about the movement. I know, makes people seasick, but as you can see, here's the new bracket. I got the hole marked. We'll pull this bolt out, I'll lower it back down. So there's the problem. The previous lift had this nutsert installed, and it is in the way of drilling a new hole. We're supposed to drill it this big, 7/8. So it'll be something like that. So it won't be very strong. Now this is really just supposed to be a crush sleeve. I find that concerning. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to, I know this is a weld area. I think we're going to go ahead and clean it up and weld to it. I'm going to minimize it though. We're going to drill this hole for the 9/16 so that it will have the bolt through it. And then we're going to put a weld. I'm going to try to weld over here between this and the bracket. I'd like to weld here across, because it'll be right here where this weld already is. And then we'll do another small one on the other side. And that, or over here, I guess is where it was. I was going to go to this bracket. You're not really welding to the frames, you don't want to do too much of that. I'm not concerned about welding to this. So, and then with the bolt through it, it's not like it could fail and you know, rip off the truck. But I don't know, my other option would be to weld that hole closed and try to use that nutsert in one from the other side. I don't really like that idea either, just because it's the only hole, whereas the other lift had this one, that one, this one, and like 2 back here, so it had 5. That really distributes the load better. Not sure what other options. I guess we could weld a plate to it and come back to this one as well. I'd have to do something on the other side though. So I'm thinking on it. I think we're going to give up for today and come back to it tomorrow. Those are just some of the ideas I've got. So let's think on it, come up with the best solution. Sounds good.
Was a modern-day gypsy when she stumbled into town. She had some tricks up her sleeve, and she took my heart and disappeared. She went up that mountain just like I feared. Come on down from Shaker Mountain, shake for me one more time. Won't you come on down from Shaker Mountain, shake right by my side. Alright, alright. Now my daddy told me in earnest not to go up that trail. He said I should be nervous, that I might come back a different man, or not at all.
Okay, we're at the point that truck's basically done. Figured I'd show you what I did with the bracket issue we were having. So I ended up keeping the BDS ones that were there. And that's because structurally these are plenty strong. I mean, they were handling all the load at this point. The only real difference between these and the BDS, or not BDS, but the rock crawler was moving to where that green line is. So it is slightly different, but it's only like an 1/8 or 1/4 inch difference in the heim. It won't really change anything geometry wise. In terms of, it won't give them bump steer or anything crazy. Maybe a little bit more pinion angle, a little less rather. I am not certain that it moved it forward though. You can see we're pretty tight right there, and I think that spacer needs to come out for now so we don't damage anything. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll put it back together without it. Because definitely can't get any more compression out of it, so that's got to come off. And then everything works. The biggest problem we have, so these shanks are only 3.5 inches long, and right now I've got 2 inches of threads exposed, 2 1/8, and that only leaves, you know, 1.25 inches, whatever in here. And for an 1.25 inch shank, that is the minimum thread engagement that you have to have. It's 1 to 1.5 times diameter. Anytime you use a rod end, that's how much thread engagement you have to have. And then you need your jam nut tightened down on top of that to pre-tension the threads so that it doesn't wallow out through vibration and up and down flex, that kind of thing. So I don't know. He wanted to push forward 2 inches, but these arms aren't going to work. Now, he said that there's some guys out there that have done it just by running the threads out. But I can tell you, that's dangerous. It would only leave, if I pushed it that far forward, it would probably only leave a 1/2 inch or 3/8 thread engagement in there. And that is not enough for the kind of loads that this vehicle will see. So, I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the owner. I think we're going to end up building new arms or something like that. These were not, he said they were supposed to be 1.5 inches longer than stock, and they are not. They're the stock length. So, at any rate, the rest of it seems to be good. Yeah, pinion angle's fine. It didn't change, so he probably should get an alignment, but it should be pretty darn close. Otherwise, bumper, you saw that, it's all in. Tried to glue these on with RTV and didn't do a good job. I don't know, we're gonna either get more RTV and glue them back on there, or get some double-sided tape, something to get those to work. All of this, you know, liner, we showed you all that. That's good to go. I am having trouble here. Sorry, I'm walking around. Let me show you real quick. So they give you these closure plates. These are pretty standard. They're supposed to go like that, but they don't match the truck hardly at all. I could do some trimming, and the holes don't line up, nothing close. I can get like the bottom one to work, and that's it. I can get the top one to work, and then it looks like the center, but then it's so far off it just looks like butt. So I don't know if these were for a different bumper. Maybe there was a change. Everything else seems to work, these don't. So I'm going to talk to him, we'll figure out what he wants to do. We can probably get some similar material, do my favorite rubbins. We get the old Crayola out, do some rubbins, mark them, cut them, and that'll be just fine. I don't know, I need to talk to him when he gets here. And then in the rear, everything's all buttoned back up. We finally got all the rivets in it. Looking nice and tight in there. Got everything closed in. Marker lights are wired. And then got all the stuff to go on the back for returning. Let's step back, we'll take a look at the back. The fender flares are a little bit canted, but they line up nice on the outside. So I don't know, what do you do? Which one do you go with? But they're not bad, they're looking pretty good. I hate it when they pre-cut stuff and then it doesn't line up. Like, you either end up with a big gap or it's uneven or something. I mean, if you're gonna make it right. If you're gonna have me cut it, then I can cut it wrong and it'll be crooked. In which case then I'll ignore it and it'll be okay. But I think for now, that's gonna wrap up the installation of the AEV bumper, fenders, and then the rock crawler suspension components. Appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, help me support my channel. We'll catch you on the next one.